Hello, fellow nerds. T. Allen here. Promise you all another video. Another video is here. Yesterday we did something a little bit different. We did a how I handle. We did a writer's corner. How I handle writer's block. Kind of appropriate. I couldn't remember right. Today I'm going to do a book review. I'm going to do DJ Butler, Witchy Eye. That's a fantastic cover. Beautiful. And I'm going to tell you, this is one of those times that you can't judge a book by its cover. Cover's amazing. So is the book. I was fortunate enough to pick this up at Pensacon, and I was very excited to be one of the first to get it. I planned to jump on it with both feet, but then some of the things that conspired to take me away from writing also took me away from my reading, so I really wasn't able to do that. And one of the simple pleasures of life that came back to me when life started to slow down and return to some kind of normalcy was excuse me, my opportunity to pick up Witchy Eye and read it. What a fantastic story. And I have nothing but praise for this book. It was a good read. It is a black powder or a flintlock fantasy that is set in a black powder era versus a medieval type era. Still has the magic and all that stuff, but just told necromancy. It's got Lazars, which are basically zombies, and what a great story. And he writes on a pretty thick. It's also an alternate history, so it takes place in North America in 1815, but it's not a North America that you or I would recognize. It's largely under the control of Imperial Pennsland, which is Penn of Pennsylvania family of their fame. So Sarah, the main character in this story, is an Appalachian girl. She goes down to the tobacco fair one day, runs into some Imperial agents who are there looking for her, and that sets her life. That her life will never be the same again. And some things that she thought she knew about herself, she finds out she doesn't. And some things that and she's got to make some. She got to do some growing up pretty fast. And she got to surround herself. She got to learn as a person who, which I do like about her, is she's no wallflower. She's from the beginning. She's a pretty stout character. She's well developed. She knows who she is. She knows what she's about, at least as much as a young woman can. But she's also she's also a little distrusting of people, and a little cynical, maybe even a little xenophobic. So she has to learn to trust people. She has to learn to kind of take over some leadership roles and step into this quest that she soon finds herself on while being pursued rather doggedly by Imperial agents and the Philadelphia Blues, which is an elite dragoon cavalry detached. Cavalry sounds like a company, if I'm not mistaken. And they're chasing her, and they ain't the only people that are chasing her. So she's being chased by quite a few people, and she's got to grow up pretty quick. And it's really a good coming of age story. I really enjoyed it. But I got to tell you, my favorite characters were not Sarah Calhoun, but was a guy named my very favorite was a guy named Bad Bill. And while I'm not going to get into all of that, all of his backstory, I will tell you that the thing that impressed me about Bad Bill, and even to some extent Sarah, was mostly Bad Bill. Was it Bad Bill, while does some despicable things that cold-blooded things that on the page, not stuff that's referenced, he does it on the page. And yet you find at least you're sympathetic with the guy. I liked him. I thought he was a well-written character, and that, my hat is off to you, Mr. Butler, because that is hard to do. And you make a guy that does terrible, dreadful things on the page, and yet we like him. I like him. And I'm really interested to find out if he's going to be able to find redemption. If he is, what's it going to cost him? That's why you keep reading the story. What's going to happen to these people? And I was at least as interested in Bill's story as I was Sarah's, who while she's a little rough around the edges, she's not really the despicable character that Bill is at the beginning. She's got some rough around the edges things that you might not like about her, but she's got some. She at least is a girl who's just, could arguably be scared and a little bit of an outsider in her own world. But he really does some pretty terrible things, and I like him anyway. And that's great. That's good writing. And that story continues, and they go on, and I'm not going to tell you how any of those people, turn out, whether or not redemption is had, whether or not people that cost people their lives. I'm not going to talk about all that, but I am going to talk a little bit about one of the main central villains, or foils, or heavies, or antagonists, and that is Ezekiel Angleton. And man, what an interesting guy, because he is this devout, religious, fire and brimstone kind of a preacher, the black and white, evil and not, and if you're not with him, you're against him, and that's just how it is. Everything is black and white in his world, and so he finds himself on this mission to serve his emperor and therefore naturally his god, and he's on this epic quest, and he is going to catch this girl, and he is going to do what he is supposed to do, and of course he's a little bit of a wizard too. That also is part of his deal, and that is part of his toolbox, and the choices that he makes and how that impacts him by the end of the story is, oh man, so well done. I did not see coming, and while I'm not going to sit here and tell you what it is, I am going to tell you it's well worth reading to find out, because that is excellent. And the last thing that I loved about this book was the historical tapestry, and wow, I can remember Ben Franklin gets mentioned. George Washington is mentioned a couple of times. Andrew Jackson makes an appearance, believe it or not. Andrew Jackson actually makes an appearance. Maybe not the kind you're expecting, but he does make one. And Oliver Cromwell is a prominent historical figure in this particular story. And I gotta tell you, man, it's just so well done, and it's so tightly woven together. And that is probably the only thing that took a little bit of the edge, and it probably is me, but as a historian, I'm trying to sort through this ornate web, this intricate web in the background, that sometimes I think I lost my way a little bit with the reading, because I would go back and reread a passage, because I'm trying to make sure I miss nothing in the background. This is a book that has great rereadability, and I would give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was an excellent book. It was a lot of fun to read. I cared about the characters. I pulled for them. I wanted, man, it was an excellent story. And I really had a good time with it. And anybody here who likes fantasy of any kind, I highly recommend. Anybody here who likes historical fiction, who's watching this, pick it up. Give it it's a great story. And it's a great coming of age story. And it's a great story about some different characters. I'm obviously going to run long here. I like to do a 5-minute video, but I'm reviewing somebody's book. It's hard to keep that down. So at any rate, this was a little bit long, but all right, go out there, get you a copy of Witchy Eye, and you'll be happy for it. Okay, all right, take care. T. Allen out.